What's going on, everybody? My name is Shay. This is the No Spoon Podcast. We got a great show for you today. Go ahead and fill up that comment section once we get in here. I know people is taking time to get in. Hopefully, back here on another Wednesday. This is No Spoon Podcast. If you've not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do so now. We talk about culture, politics, and common sense. Common sense part that a lot of people don't understand. We've lost our way with that. We got a good show for you today. Let's get to it. There's not time to be waiting around. Yeah, let's get to it. What's going on? My name is Che. This is a No Spoon Podcast where we talk about culture, politics, and common sense. Welcome, everybody. Those that are watching on the live stream and those that are watching on the replay, we thank you so much for tapping in for this Wednesday afternoon over here on the West Coast, but I'm probably evening on the East Coast. Anyways, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do so now. Also, don't forget to like, share, and comment. Send this out to as many people as possible. We're all we got in this fight. We know that we're up against the algorithm, obviously, all the time. But I got a good show for you today. I got a special guest that's about to come in here in a minute and talk to you about, basically, listen, I just want to say this real quick because we don't have a whole lot of time, but I want to just kind of go off here on a second. When I do this, I got a lot of people who will tell me, like, be careful of the people you have on, be careful of the things you talk about. We know we're all up against the censorship and this and that and the big tech and all that conglomerate that we're facing, right? And so, I take that in consideration, right? I've just started this YouTube channel. I'm not monetized yet, so I'm not really worried about getting demonetized. But at the same time, you don't want to get strikes so that you never get to that point. But I mean, obviously, monetization is something that you want. Everybody wants that. And the reason why we want it is so that we can continue doing this. We can do this more. I have regular jobs. I have things I have to do to take care of my family. I have things I have to do that. Yes, I love to do this. Yes, this. I feel this is important. This is the fight. But I have to sustain myself, or else I'm gonna be out there on the streets, and then you guys are gonna be fighting for me. But when I first started, I started with just a phone in my car because I felt like this is a message that needed to get out there. This is something that needed to happen. Like we needed people to be a voice for the people. We needed people that to be a voice against the establishment and go against the mainstream narratives. And nobody was actually doing that. And I appreciate all the support. And when people tell me like, keep doing what you're doing and all that, and I appreciate all that. And so the reason I'm bringing this up is because we always get deplatformed. We always lose our pages. We always lose our content, but we keep fighting. And although we want to be careful so that we don't, our voices aren't completely silent, we still have to tell the truth. And I think more so than the aspirations of being able to do this for money and being able to do this, full time and do this more. I think also, at least for me personally, it's also about being able to go to sleep at night. It's being able to wake up in the morning and look myself in the mirror and knowing that I did what I was supposed to do. I did my part. Many of you know my story and being incarcerated for, most of my adult life. And I've been home for a little over 4 years, almost 5 years now. I know a thing or two about living with regrets and living with wishing you can start over. And that's no way to live. So more so than anything, it's for that. It's to say that, I did something. No matter where we end up or what this fight becomes of this fight, I think the important thing is to know that at least I can tell the next generation, my kids, my family, that I did something. I didn't just stay silent. And so, with that being said, I want to introduce our guest because she is one of those as well. I feel like I've been watching her for a while, especially once they started with the whole mandates and her fight here in California. And I think that, you know, based on what I've seen, we cut from the same cloth in the sense that, we're going to fight, and we're going to keep going. We're not going to go out without a fight. So I want to welcome Denise Aguilar from Freedom Angels and Mamalitia. What's up, Denise? How you doing?
Hey, what's up? What's going on?
Man, nice to have you here.
Nice to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely, man. So you're Denise Aguilar, Freedom Angels, Mamalitia. For those that don't know, why don't you introduce yourself and kind of give us a little background on who you are and what you do, and the fight that we were just talking about.
Yeah, so my name is Denise. I'm from Stockton, California. I'm a wife. I have three children, and I was never, ever, I never thought I would be in the position that I am now. Um, all my life, from 12 to my adulthood, actually till 2012, so pretty recent, I was an active gang member in Stockton and never, ever participated in politics, never cared about politics. I was all about that, street life. And then in 2012, I met my husband, and over a lunch date, he said, your kids are really sick. Have you ever read a vaccine insert? And I was immediately intrigued, and that's how all of this started. My husband was locked up for quite some time, and he started reading about things of the government nature, and he started looking into vaccines. And so in 2015, in California, there was a bill, SB 277, that was introduced that removed philosophical and religious exemptions for all children in school. And that was the beginning of what is going on. Like, I didn't even know I could opt my kids out of vaccines. And so seeing this, and like, this is a law now, triggered me to kind of look a little bit further. And so I started doing everything I had to do. I started going to events. I started meeting with prominent doctors and scientists to kind of understand the world that I was just thrown into. And then in 2019, we led strategy. My partner and I, we formed Freedom Angels, and we led strategy against SB 276, which removed all exemptions in the state of California and attacked our doctors. And when that passed, my partner and I started civil disobedience in one of the hearings, and we occupied the California Capitol for 11 days. We chained our friends to the doors of the Capitol. We blocked the driveways, nobody in, nobody out. Um, we went full on civil disobedience because our children are not negotiable. And recently, with 2019 or with 2022 legislation, we finally were able to defeat a bill that's the defeat has never been able to be done in California the way it did. But it was a bill introduced by Senator Scott Wiener, SB 866, which lowered the age of consent to 12 for medical procedures like shots without parental consent or knowledge. And from Freedom Angels to understanding that there's the system is set up to keep us in chaos and to keep us poisoned with our food and medicine and water. I formed Freedom Angels, or I'm sorry, Mamalitia. We are a national group of all female preppers, and we are building out the world that we want for our kids. So not only are we engaging in politics or Freedom Angels, but we're building out resources, because if you have resources, you're harder to control. And so we've been working really hard in California. We had our first win ever in the state, and we're fully engaged. So my husband kind of threw me in the deep end of the ocean and let me swim.
Man, that's super dope. I love that. I mean, that's such it's such needed right now. So just to be clear, and like, I started hearing about you a few after 2020, but you've been doing this. This isn't new, right? This isn't something that just because they came out with these mandates and after 2020, you've been already on this.
We saw the writing on the wall in 2015. We saw the lobbying from the pharmaceutical companies for both parties. We saw, them coming in, the pharma cartel coming in and promising money and, positions for, to pass these kinds of laws. And the way I grew up is, you're not going to come after my family. You're not going to come after my kids. And the moment
Mhm.
that happens, we're going to fight. And I've been able to kind of transition but use this, and I call them skills. I know it's going to sound funny, but the skills that I use on the streets to organize, right? Because that's what
Yeah.
gangbanging is, right? Like,
Mhm.
you're organizing, you're a street organizer. I'm taking that and I'm bringing it here because, um, what I've seen in politics is our children are at the forefront of this war, and I'm not going to let that happen to my kids. I lost medical rights to my son to get vaccinated. And so when I lost that, they're going to feel my wrath, and my wrath has been able to change from street organizing to boots on the ground grassroots organizing, and starting to put pressure on these reps at a local district level.
Man, you know what? I mean, but that I've been saying that for a while. Like, they don't want us. They don't. When I say us, like people that come from that background, they don't want us to get politicized. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's if the establishment fears anything, that's what they fear. The person that goes to work 9 to 5 and has been doing this their whole life and have just been following the recipe, go to school, graduate, go to college, get a job, get me all that stuff. I'm not knocking any of that, but they don't want us to wake up.
We're a whole demographic of people they hoped and they pushed to stay asleep. If you really look at, um, the CDC, and look at all these programs, uh, there is a history. I mean, an undeniable history that these agencies experiment with people in our neighborhoods. You know, I've
Facts.
seen
Yeah.
I've seen these politicians come into my neighborhood, to the poor schools and the poor communities, and offer food for shots. And it's like, why don't I see that in these other areas that are a little bit, quote unquote high class? Like, why do you have to bring that to my neighborhood? And Tuskegee experiment, the
Hmm.
MMR experiment on Black and Mexican children in LA, pretty recent. It was in the 80s. They want our trust and they want our vote. Anything other than that, they don't want to deal with us.
Yeah,
So
they don't
we
care.
have wakened a demographic that they are terrified of.
Man, I've been saying, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, when I was in the prison, I used to look at dudes and be like, these are the most uncontrollable elements, right? The most uncontrollable people. They put them all into one place, but within that group, there are people that can control that. There are people that, and they're not wearing green, they're not wearing blue. I mean, they're not blue is what we wear in there, but they're not on the other side. They're on our side. And I've always said, man, if we can just channel that into something positive and something that really benefits us, other than killing one another, that's it's dangerous, and they don't want that. And not, where else are they gonna where else would they do their experiments besides the undesirable?
I mean, it's in history that they continue to do it. And with the mandates, I gave my kids all their shots. I
Mhm.
wasn't like this person who was like, oh my gosh, just forget all the shots. I didn't start off like that. I worked in a healthcare facility. I gave my kids all these things, and the more I started talking about it to other people and looking into it, the more infuriated I got of how dare they make us feel like this is a law. How dare they make us feel like we have to do this? And there's no informed consent. There should never be mandates for medicine ever, right?
Mhm.
Our bodies don't react like that. Just because there's a mandate doesn't mean we should have to take it. And so when all of these laws started hitting, the media, and politicians started labeling me a white supremacist. They
Yeah, I was gonna
started,
get to that. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. Go
yeah,
ahead.
they call me a white supremacist with a tan. And I don't know how, that's hella racist for me. Like, are you kidding me? Like, um, but they did all this pushback to where they had the Southern Poverty Law Group call me, the big T, where I know this is on YouTube, so I know what, I can't say it, but
Right, right,
they
right.
called me all of these names to get me to back down. And I'm like, yo, I'm from Stockton. Like, if I survive the streets of Stockton, I think I can survive, the LA Times calling me names. Like, this is not going to stop me. This is not going to prevent me from talking about this. And so what we do here in Stockton is I do town halls. I go into
Mhm.
neighborhoods, do town halls. I let them know what's going on. I let them know what bills are happening, and I let them know how to participate. Because a lot of times, like you said, we're all at work. We're just trying to get by. We're trying to raise our
Mhm.
families. We just want to be left alone. We don't have time to engage in politics. But that's why we're here. That's why they have this much power, is because we haven't been engaged. And so I go into these communities and I'm like, our voice in these areas are so powerful to these representatives. They do not want the information getting out because, equity and all that in California.
Hey, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, I look at it like, man, I don't. You think I can like? I look at a person, and you said his name a minute ago, and he's gonna come up in so many different things. Scott Wiener, who's a senator, right? Do you really think I care what he got to say about me? Like, look at him. I mean, like you said, I mean, you're from Stockton, I'm from LA. Like we've been through. Like, trust me, I've been up against way more formidable foes than that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that doesn't matter. And I think what the thing is like, it, you know that side of the political aisle, they really feel like they have these our communities on lock, but in reality, like everybody that I talk to, they're not with all this. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't understand the disconnect.
There's been a line drawn for a lot of us.
Mhm.
I truly don't believe in the two-party system. I really feel like it was just created to keep us divided because the politicians, the pharmaceutical companies, special interest groups lobbied both parties. So
Right.
I'm not lost in that. But in, culturally, my family's from Mexico. They migrated here to work the fields. My mom was an organizer with Cesar Chavez. I mean, our roots were deep in this activism, but we don't have those types of views like what the Scott Wieners have. We are traditional in our thinking. We hard work, right? It's one of the things, hard work. We love our
Yeah.
families. We love God. All of these things that play a role culturally for us, they don't align with the extremists like Scott Wiener, who introduces the most predatory bills in the nation.
Man.
Honestly, the only reason, and I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say you should look at his constituents. That's why he's in office. But if we can't get him out of office, then we have to point him as the extremist in office and let these other reps know, like, this is not how we want California to be. This is not a California for all when you have representatives like that introducing predatory bills that attack our children and try to remove parents from the homes.
Mhm.
I came from a single, my mom is a single mom, and I know that, and my husband's here. So I have my little test subject, right? I came from a single mom household, and all three of us were involved in gangs. All three of us were, jail and drugs and all those things. And I see my son now with his father, and I know that that path is not going to be a pathway for him, because he has two parents that love and support him, two
Mhm.
parents that want to guide him. And instead of supporting family values in California, and instead of supporting both families being involved, Scott Wiener and his, extremist groups want to create parental alienation and get parents away from their kids. We already know what happens when parents and children are not created in this cohesive relationship. There's drama.
I mean, I think that's the agenda all the way around. I mean, is to destroy the family,
Yep.
and I think if there's any fight, one of the biggest fight to me is to bring that back, bring the family structure back, bring and I think it starts um as a man, I could say that it starts with men. Like, I think that there is an agenda to emasculate men and put them in this kind of effeminate role. I mean, how do you see that?
I mean, they feminized our men. I mean, we see that already. I mean, I forgot the data on it, but how many children identify how many male children identify as, transgender, um, is skyrocketed.
Mhm.
And, when you feminize the men, there's nobody to step in front of the women. And now they're brainwashing the women to get to the children, which is the ultimate war on God. I mean, it's all connected. And so, my husband and I talk about this a lot. We see all the kids at I have one kid that goes to public school, and all these boys are so feminized. They don't have the skills or the capability to like deal with real world issues, which is why we're here, right? Like all this messy stuff is happening
Mhm.
because words hurt and people don't know how to deal with life.
Yeah, no, it's like they can't deal I mean, everything is so traumatizing to them. I don't understand how they've made it this far. You know, I'm
Right?
serious. It's like it blows my mind. These you could go by any high school now, and I'm like, what is this place? That's not the high school that I mean, obviously I'm older, but it's not. I don't remember high school being like that.
Life was sink or swim. You know what I mean? Like it for me, I'm in my 40s. So
Mhm.
it was sink or swim for me. I mean, there was no coddling. And although some people are like, oh, that's trauma, it's not. You're able to build like skills to deal with issues. And kids aren't dealing with that right now. I'm actually very sad that my son goes to public school. I homeschool my youngest.
Mhm.
And really all of this, the agenda is that the target is public schools. They have
Yeah.
these clinics on school campuses. They have curriculum that doesn't necessarily align with, traditional values that we have. And they create this space where parents aren't welcome. I can't go on my son's campus unless they like check in and I have all my IDs checked and all these things. But you still have predators at school, so I'm not really sure how they weed those guys out.
Yeah. I mean, that's at the end of the day, they want the state to be your they want your state to be the parent, they want the state to be the god, they want state to be the overall entity that we all submit to. So, I mean,
Children are
it's
mine.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and we see that now. I mean, this has become a big, a hot topic as far as in all the political discourses is the drag shows, the kids, um, I don't know, it's YouTube. I don't know what I could say, but
I know it's hard.
it's something that rhymes with rooming, but
Yeah,
it's what they're, kind of doing that to these kids, and it seems like I don't know how much cognitive dissonance you can have to not see that this is what's going on. Like they're after your children.
I know. Before I met my husband, I was married to a woman. I was in a very long term relationship. My
Mhm,
son was from a woman. She's biological mom, and so all my life from I was out partying when I was like 14 years old, going to all the gay clubs and all the drag shows. That is not family friendly. I don't care how they want to spin it. I don't
mhm.
care if they want to throw a book in front of their face and say that it's, reading rainbow. It is not appropriate. And what the narrative that they have created to make you, oh, if you don't agree with this, then you have a phobia about something. Children can't consent. That is the main. I honestly, I don't care what anybody does with their life. I don't care what you do as a consenting adult. Don't bring the children into it. I have been in that lifestyle. I've seen it. I've dealt with it. None of it should be having children involved. And it's really disappointing. And I'm really glad that there's groups like, Gays Against
Mhm.
Groomers that, that are saying something because right now these people who identify as other things, um,
Mhm.
they are using the LGBT community as a shield. And it needs to stop. And I'm really glad that that group is starting to speak up and speak out about it. But unfortunately, it's just bizarre. Like women, mothers have like been brainwashed into thinking that it's appropriate to bring your kids to stuff like that. It's weird.
Do you get any pushback? I mean, obviously you get pushback, we know that, but I mean, specifically for that reason, because you used to be a part of that community and now you're not. I mean, Do they you know what? Because honestly, I didn't know that about you.
Oh,
I
thank
think I've heard you briefly speak on it, like, but I know you're not. Obviously, it's not a secret. But do you get like kind of like people saying, "Well, you walked away from that" or something like that?
Actually, no. It's weird. I don't know if it's the tattoos or what it is, but people don't really approach me with things like that. Like they don't like to say anything to me. They avoid
For
it.
real.
For real. Like they don't really bring it up. But you know, if even if they did, I don't care.
Yeah.
What I have two completely different lives that I've lived. One was a very destructive, very violent life, like I mean, violent lifestyle that I had, and having a child with a woman, it was just part of my life. Like I just didn't never knew anything different, and meeting my husband really kind of changed everything. I didn't meet him as my husband, obviously, like we were
Mhm.
friends, but it changed everything. Every part of my being has changed because of him. But I've never really had anybody say anything to me like that. Like, and if they did, I don't really care. I mean, the internet got people very comfortable saying things.
Yeah, for real. No, for real. Like, I mean, back in the day, you had to be careful what you said to people because there was consequences
Right?
behind it. Now they just block you and report you to Elon Musk or something like
Oh
that.
my gosh, right? I mean, you were talking about being banned. Um, I have had multiple double digit social media accounts because they kept taking me off social media.
Mhm.
Facebook, can't even get on it. The moment I try it, they do biometrics on my face. Even if I try from another phone, it's so crazy. And the Secretary of State worked with Facebook to remove my partner and I from Instagram. So what are we saying that is so dangerous that they
Yeah.
have to remove us the way that they removed us? Everything we say is accurate. We have had, we when we post things like California has a personal belief exemption to any additional shots. We had Newsweek come out and do a fact check against us and then take us down on Instagram. Like, and it was true.
Mhm.
Now we know it's true. So it's, what are they so scared of?
No, for real. I mean, it's like, what are we saying that people haven't been doing for decades, centuries? You know what I mean? Like, we want families intact. We want to be able to make our own decisions when it comes to our bodies and our medical decisions. I mean, really, what else? What are we doing that is so radical? You know what I mean? Nobody's fired a shot. We haven't done anything like that. What are we doing?
No idea. I really don't know why people who identify like leftists or whatever, why they think like what I'm saying is so extreme. Children can consent. We should be able to decide what medical procedures we want to participate in, and everyone deserves basic human rights. I mean, those are my issues. And for any kind of politician or news outlet to call that extreme, it's propaganda, literally propaganda, trying to label us so that way people are scared of us. I remember when our Mamalitia picture came out,
Mhm.
we dropped it, right? It was all of us holding firearms, and it was like the main picture. It was the picture heard around the world. I can't believe how many news outlets called me trigger word names and said that I was some kind of supremacist because I support two-way rights. But here we are, having these kinds of conversations, basic rights.
This is basic stuff. I mean, but this is the stuff that only a totalitarian tyrannical regime would fear. I mean,
Mhm.
that you can't say any what else can we talk about? What else can we say? We're not talking about doing anything other than, like you said, just living our lives and doing what we're supposed to do. Um and also you guys on Mama Lisha, you guys are a prepper organization, right? Uh
Yeah, yeah. So there's multi layers to us. We learn how to prep. So we are, food, water, communications, a plan, all that stuff. But really, we're a tight, secure network. Every member has background checks. We train in person. We are boots on the ground training to figure out how to build our skills. So we learn how to homestead. And even in urban areas, we learn how to homestead. We homeschool together. We learn skills like, bow and arrow. We learn how to hunt. We learn how to fish. We do all the skills that our grandparents had that we lost.
Hmm.
And we're really just kind of building that tribe. Through 2020, a lot of us lost a lot of relationships, be it
Hmm.
family or
Yeah.
friends. And it's really hard to navigate this kind of stuff when you're by yourself. It's really hard to be by yourself. And so, this community of women, we came together on a national scale, and we have, women on the East Coast, Midwest, and over here on the West Coast. And we've really created a new community. We barter we create our own economy. We barter with each other. We do the homeschool co-ops
Hmm.
together. We trade food together. So that way, if things like this ever happen, like the lockdowns again, we're not by ourselves, and we have a plan.
What do we have? Is there any men involved? Like, is there something you have, or is there any plans for that going on in the future?
We don't, but what we do is when we have trainings, that we open it up to the families. So then the husbands come and they all kind of network together. We don't, our goal is to not have to outsource anymore,
Yeah.
right? So when we come together, we want your families to come together also. So sending, we are friends with different organizations around California, but if we had a husband who we connected with another organization, they have their own plans to leave if needed, we'd
Hmm.
lose members. So we try to keep it in together. Husbands are welcome to come to the trainings and to participate in it. And so, but we don't have any plans to make like a data list or anything.
Man, maybe that's something that can be done. But anyways, um, no, I mean, this is I think you're a step ahead. You know what I mean? Because I mean, you're seeing now. I mean, we have this egg shortage going on, right? That
Oh yeah.
yeah,
We don't know egg shortages in Mamalitia. We all have chickens and we all share with each other. And we barter with each other. So we saw the price was like $30 for like a box of eggs where I'm at. I am not paying that.
no, for real. It's well, I don't know. I'm really skeptical. I don't believe anything that comes from the media and anything that comes from this administration or the establishment period because it's like, we just printed a whole bunch of money and now all of a sudden you're seeing certain, food items start to skyrocket. I just think this is kind of some kind of controlled um inflation effects of inflation. You know what I mean? Like maybe they're just let's do it one thing at a time. But
Yeah, the calling of the chickens. I mean, recently, like another chicken farm got set on fire.
yeah, yeah,
It's all by design. We already have, a 15-minute city in Canada forming. Like we
yeah,
see the patterns here, and we're not blind. We see, Scott Wiener is trying to create like a transit system in San Francisco, and it's those are like the way that he has it set up. It's like a 15-minute city. It's the plans for a 15-minute city. If you don't know what that is, it's
yeah.
like walking distance city. You don't those Your carbon footprint matters, right? So if you travel, you only have so long to travel. You can't leave your district. Basically, it's kind of in districts. It's like Hunger Game stuff, like out of time stuff. But we've already seen that in Canada, and Scott Wiener here in California has a lot of plans to create some kind of 15-minute city model.
I spoke with Amy Ichikawa last time I on my last show.
Mhm.
I know you know Amy. Um and she's fighting against another Scott Wiener introduced bill that where he wants to send I get so confused when I say it because if I say trans women, what does that mean? Like these are biological men who are women into the women only prisons.
Yeah, so men claiming that they're women are asking to go into the women's prisons. And
Hmm.
I saw your interview with Amy. I've spoken to her at length, and I'm really hoping that we're able to bring some course correction to that. Women right now in who are inmates are feeling unheard. They're feeling like they're being thrown away, that they're just disposable and collateral damage to Scott Wiener's bill. And hopefully we can bring this back to Scott Wiener. He does the right thing. A lot of times legislators write legislation and don't really understand how it plays out in the real world. And now we're seeing in the real world, women are being assaulted, and they, this should be the last thing they have to worry about, is having a body part weaponized against them.
I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's everything this guy introduces. It's it's on the wrong side of just common sense.
It's predatory. He did the
Hmm.
SB 107, and it creates California as a sanctuary state for trans kids. And, in his mind, he's saying, oh, children should be protected. They should be able to get this gender reaffirming health care if they want to. But what it actually does is it allows for children from out of state and from states that are banning this type of, quote unquote care, and not complying with child custody issues during this. And we saw a dad in Texas lost his ability to you
Yeah.
know tell the his ex-wife or whoever it was, he didn't want his son to transition. Well, she's bringing him to California, and she's going to be able to do it, and nobody's going to step in. I mean, California, when people say, oh, I wish California would fall off the face of the earth, they don't realize these laws here, they can affect other people in other states. So even if you're from another state, you can still participate in California politics. This affects everybody in the nation because they're trying to make California as a model. And,
Right.
it's a warning, it's not a model. And 107 is just going to allow for child, gosh, I don't know if I can say it on here, but
Hey.
moving the children. And he really focused on laws that we needed to, instead of protecting our kids, he created loopholes like SB 145. Um, he's a dangerous politician, and we have to be involved in politics. You have to know who your
Mhm.
legislators are. Um, I before I did this, I never knew even how to find my legislator. And now is the time. 2023 is the time for Californians to put in place protections, which means we got to put laws on the books that are going to protect our children and parental rights in the state and human and civil rights. We can't do that unless people are activated in their counties and contacting their representatives to let them know that they have concerns, they don't support these types of bills, and they want some course correction happening.
Yeah. I mean, we always talk about, like, you know, I think a lot of people don't understand how government is supposed to work. It's supposed to work from the local level out, not the outward in. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like
Yeah.
the executive branch is so far removed from what goes on in our everyday lives and what really affects us. City councils, even to all of these positions that you don't read about, you don't hear about in the news cycle, are probably they I'm not probably they are affecting you more so than anything else. Like, and if we don't engage in that, and we just sit here and say, let's vote for the president, or let's, vote for, whatever else, but these things are so important, man. They're so important, and we're dropping the ball. And I think people don't understand that.
They don't. A lot of people are more concerned about federal. They want to,
Hmm.
like you said, the president. None of that really affects us the way that they think it affects us. Our local government have more effect on our everyday lives than federal or sometimes even state.
Hmm.
When I'm in San Joaquin County, and we worked really hard in this county to put in place some sort of protections, and we worked in other counties across, the United States. And what we did here is we worked with our board of supervisors to introduce a resolution to ban the vaccine passports. We also did mass choice for kids in school, and we did a lot happen. A lot happened in San Joaquin County, but a lot happened in Nevada that we worked on. We created or helped the board of supervisors create constitutional counties. So there can be change, but you have to know who your legislators are. A lot of times, they live in our neighborhoods. Their kids go to our schools. We see them in restaurants. We see them out,
Hmm.
and legislators don't want to deal with real world people. And so, if we know what kind of bills are being introduced, we know how to talk to them. It's going to be really hard for them to continue to push this extremism when we're literally in their offices and in their neighborhoods and in their schools.
Everything that that we're talking about, I mean, it basically boils down, the way I see it is it boils down to individual agency, like you as an individual. So everything from owning your own chickens, um, training with firearms, engaging with your local representatives, your city councils, your local officials, right? This is all things that are boils down to you as an individual. Everything outside of that is things you really can't control. And it's almost like they keep us focused on those things, because the things that we can do, the things that are happening right here, right now, are things that will really make differences and really make a change. And like you said, which is, I mean, I 100% agree with you, is that you use the skills that you use in the streets. And I think people would underestimate us. Again, us, I use that term, but it's like,
Mhm.
because, you know, and we were just talking about this the other day. I was saying, in prison, we're very resourceful. We're very ingenious. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Everything has value. Like, you don't even throw away the cardboard from the toilet paper, because I can use that for something. I'm serious. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I
So
know.
it's like, it's almost like, you know the excuse me, the politics that you play out there in the streets, there are a microcosm for the politics that are played in the real world. We understand this, and I think they know that too. They don't want to see this. They don't want to see this happen. They don't want to see us get together and say, let's put aside all the pettiness that we've been dealing with for years, and let's focus on the real issues.
No, if we did, then we would be picketing their front door. But they keep us in chaos, so that way we're more focused on less important things. You know, the reason these bills pass in California, just across the nation, is because people don't know about them, right? Nobody has time to look at this stuff. When
Hmm.
you say you engage in this and this and that, I'm incredibly blessed. I know I am, that I have a husband who works so I can stay home and homeschool. I'm blessed that I have a tribe that helps me in all the places that I'm slacking in. Not everybody has that. And so when I go in and talk to people, I talk to everybody. We go to our local bar. I mean, everybody who wants to hear it, I talk to them. But I also don't just come to them and say, we have all these problems. We need to engage. Once you have resources, then you can engage. And
Hmm.
so when we started building homeschool pods, we started bringing town halls to the communities, telling them these are the laws, these are your reps, this is what you can do, but also have a plan B and C. We have to fight the schools. Our children can't be in school while we're fighting the schools. They're like on the front line. When all these
Hmm.
people were like, unmask my kid, we had the opportunity to unmask our children this entire time. We could have stopped it. And I know a lot of people were scared during 2020, and there was a big panic and chaos, but we have to learn from that. Like you said, we're very resourceful. A lot of my resources were gone because a lot of my relationships were gone. People were so mad at me because I would not muzzle myself. They were so mad because I was like, this isn't true. This isn't happening. It's like the Truman Show, right? I'm like, does nobody
Right.
see this? And so I lost a lot of relationships. But when we have resources and we have a tribe and we know we can homeschool, we know that we don't need, you know, to go to the emergency room or the hospitals, because we have these clinics that are being ran by the doctors who were fired because they wouldn't comply. When we have all of these things lined up, it's a lot easier to involve yourself. And so I hope people who are listening to this, reach out and find a tribe, find like-minded people, start connecting with each other in
Hmm.
person, not just online. This online stuff got us very comfortable with being online, and so we
Yeah.
stopped building relationships in person. And then when we get cut off, we're in a really bad situation.
No, for real. Like that's one of the reasons. Like, I do a reentry class every Saturday with guys that are getting out of prison and in sober living and all that. Been on drugs. And I see Kenny in the chat. He's part of my group. So, but that's what we do. Like, we meet, we talk about issues, we have debates. Uh, and like I said, Kenny's in the chat. Kenny's our conspiracy theorist guy. He's one that's in the Fed, and we always go to that conversation. But it's like, to me, I feel like there's so much talent, and there's so, and like you said, you meeting your husband, just having that time to really get into issues that you don't have time when you're out here, and you have, it's hard. I mean, I read a book a week when I was incarcerated. It's hard to finish a book now because there's so
Yeah.
much. You have to go to work, you have to do this, you got family, you got, all these different distractions, social media, not, but it's like, you know, that's why I always encourage these guys, like, you guys are the leaders. You are the ones, like, you're the ones that are going to that we need and depend on. And so I love the fact that you're connected with boots on the ground, still in the streets, but using it for something different. I mean, how is, when you go into the communities, and I'm talking about to the real communities, into the hood, and they talk to the people, what is that? What is their, because we're all supposed to be on, the Scott Wiener side of things, but what is their real reaction to the things that you're doing?
I have only had people be very appreciative of the information that they're receiving. They don't agree with this. And no matter what narrative gets pushed out, the people that I meet are pissed when they find
Yeah.
out exactly what's going on. They have lost complete trust in the system. They've lost complete trust in the alphabet agencies. They don't agree with any of this. And when I go in there, it's interesting because sometimes I'll like go to LA, or I'll go to, Southern California, and I do get a little nervous sometimes because I'm tattooed in a way you'll be able to identify where I'm from. And so Northern California, Southern
Yeah,
California
yeah,
don't
yeah,
mesh.
yeah.
But when I go down there,
If you know, you know.
yeah, when I go down there, the response I get is a positive response where we have people coming from all walks of life who are attending our trainings at the Capitol, who are attending our Zoom meetings, and they're ready to go. That's
Mhm,
one thing that if any legislators or anybody sees this who we work with in politics, the Latino community, the communities, underserved communities like mine, were
mhm.
pissed, and we're armed with information now. My partner Tara and I have made it very much of a mission of ours to go into the neighborhoods that they pander to, right? The
Yeah.
communities they go to try to get them to believe them, and they don't they don't believe the hype anymore. They pushed too hard, went too fast, and we have a very positive response from people who are just ready to pull their kids from school, ready to not comply with any of these ridiculous laws that are being passed, and not voting with this party anymore.
Man, you know what? And that's the thing, is like, because the other side, the Republican side, they're not gonna come save you, right? So
No.
like, if they're not winning elections, they don't care. So, but at the same time, it's like, I don't believe, I'm not gonna just give our kids up to these weirdos on the other side here. So it's like, you know what? We're gonna do what we gotta do. It's that simple. You know what I mean? And I get so frustrated because I feel like that side, the left, is so infiltrated with, or it's saturated with, activists that are getting their information not from the people, but from these colleges and universities that are indoctrinating. And so, like, just recently, we've gotten back into this whole, with the, the Tyree Nichols situation. We got into this whole defund the police or abolish the police and stuff like that. And I'm not no back the blue and all this so crazy person. But I understand reality, right? And I understand, I don't think a lot of these people really realize what you're dealing with here. Like, I don't really think they get it. Like this this gang stuff is not, which is there's not the things that you really want to send your kids to. You know what I mean? I think a lot of these, I think the Scott Wiener types, you know what's on the other side of that thin blue line is not something that you're gonna mesh with well. I'm just saying.
No, we're there's always politics in every part of life, right? In
Hmm.
everything we do, there's politics. And in our politics, that kind of stuff doesn't slide. We're not going to just allow our children to be preyed upon, and we're not going to let, grown men try to get mothers out of the way and take the kids. It's not
Hmm.
going to happen. no matter what names they call me, no matter, it's really easy for the media to portray me in this dangerous light, right? Like my background, clearly I'm not ashamed of it. I tell people, but the way I look, right?
Mhm.
Heavily tattooed, the big earrings. It's very easy for them to demonize me and to try to make me look like this very dangerous person. Um, when I was on the streets, I was a dangerous person.
Mhm.
And I was a dangerous person because I had one goal in mind, and that was it. And here, as a mother, as someone who sees the kind of predators that are after our kids and who sees um, the agenda that's coming after our kids, mothers are dangerous. It doesn't matter what part of life you come from.
Mhm.
You try to step in front of our kids, we're going to fight. And so I'm not your cookie cutter activist. I look different. I talk different. I'm from a different part of town. But to my tribe, to the people who engage and who protect my family the way that they protect theirs, like, I got your back. And that's one thing that they're terrified of, is when we join together, regardless of skin color, regardless of background. One common ground thing we have is leave the children alone. And we're going to keep working to protect our kids in California and across the nation, no matter what unjust laws become laws. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, for real. I mean, that's like I said, that's one thing they fear. I and it's just so it's so refreshing to see people like and cuz I know it. I know at the end of the day, like we ain't going for this. You know what I mean? I don't care what you know what narrative you try to throw out there. We're not going for this because we don't play that. We don't play that where we from. Like you can't like I, like I seen the thing out here. I'm in LA. Like I seen George Lopez who spoke up and said something about if you're enemy of drag, you're an enemy of mine or something like that. And I'm like I'm familiar with where George Lopez is from, and I'm thinking to myself, well, go throw one there. See how that turns
Right?
out for you, George.
Well,
Go
I
throw
don't
a
see them in our neighborhoods because that
man. What?
happened. George Lopez, he's been a sellout. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
he
for real. Facts.
met with Gavin here in the Central Valley at a restaurant that they demanded be closed because of, the pandemic, while they had a private meeting inside. Like, do you want the restaurant closed, or do you only want it open to elite, people like you, George Lopez? So I don't even take what that guy says anymore. He has the same old ass jokes he's had for 10 years.
For real, man. It ain't even funny no more. Like,
No.
yeah, and if you seen it, like I started watching like the first like 5 minutes of the new show he has on. Man, it was terrible. You know what I mean? Like I watched some of the old George Lopez show when they were really like still able to say certain jokes and stuff
Oh
like that.
yeah.
And I'm like, I just want to know, like, at what point did all that change? You know what I mean? At what point did you say, I'm not doing that anymore? Like, I don't know. I want to know when that transition happened for you, George. Like,
I don't trust any of those people in Hollywood. I don't
no, they're all weirdos.
they are all weirdos. They've ruined movies for me. Now I'm like, forget it. I can't even watch it anymore because every time I watch a movie, I'm like, never mind.
Yeah, it's all, it's all the agenda. That's all I see in
Predictive
everything.
programming.
Yeah, it's all the agenda. Like, and I can't get with any of it. It's not how I was raised. You know what I mean? It's not how I was raised. It's not how any of the people that I function with were raised. And I don't understand. I really do think that we're coming to a point where it's like the same people that think that we've been riding for them for all these years, it's not going to happen anymore. You know what I mean? It's not, because you're really bringing in a whole different element that we just ain't cool with. No one's Latinx. I'm just being
Oh,
honest.
that is so like, who thought about that? That's really annoying. I'm not going to change myself. I'm not going to let people erase me as a woman, as a mother,
Yeah.
as, a Latina, as whatever you want to look at me as. I am not going to conform or bend a knee to anybody who's trying to erase me. We have a lot of stuff wrong with what's going on in our country, what's going on with
Hmm.
the social aspect of everything. And I hope and pray that people do engage. They do look at this and, know that no matter where you're from, what you did, none of it matters. Your voice is powerful. You have to use it. You have to participate and protect the children. And parental rights in California, I mean, they want to separate us, and we have to draw a line. You have to pick a side. There's no more, on the fence and just trying to ignore things. The agenda is in full swing, and they have no intention on stopping it. So on February 7th, we'll be at the California Capitol. We're going to
Mhm.
train people on how to be effective in politics and how to grassroots lobby, so that way we can stop any kind of mandate in the state and protect the children in our beautiful state that they ruined.
Man, have you so I know because we're both from California and I'm, born and raised out here. And everybody always says, "Why don't you leave? You gotta leave. You gotta leave." What is your view on that?
I shouldn't have to.
Yeah,
I,
facts.
I,
There
sh-
you
I
go.
shouldn't have to leave. I pay taxes here. I'm a voter
Mhm.
here. I'm born and raised here. And I'm not going to let no one like Scott Wiener run me out of my home. Not happening. I can't leave. I share custody of my son. And
Mhm.
so if I leave, I'm leaving without him, or I'm taking him and leaving him, taken away from his other house. None of that's an option right now. So we shouldn't have to. We should be able to have a voice at the table, and these elected representatives should realize they're elected representatives, and they should be the voice of the people, not the special interest groups.
That's why I mean, I feel the same way because it's like I mean, there's times I'm like, especially with the way the cost of living is so ridiculous out here. It's kind of like, man, I'm trying to other places might seem better, but
I know.
at the end of the day, man, like my family has been here. I'm third generation here. You know what I mean? Like my family has been here since the early 1900s. Like why should I leave because these bunch of weirdos just decided to take power? You know what I mean? Like I'm you think like Scott Wiener couldn't push me off of my feet in real life. Why am I going to let him do that? You know what I'm saying? Like come on, man.
No, he's such a gaslighter, and I hope that the organizations that work with him um, understand like what kind of representative he really is. Just because he may introduce a bill that is in your favor, we still have to recognize the kind of extremist that he is and point him out. I mean, he's one of the worst politicians we have in California, and hopefully, we're able to change the hearts and the minds of the other politicians, so that way they point him out and they say we can't roll with Scott, man. You guys, you're dangerous. You're a predator.
Man, well, I know you gotta go. What do you got coming up? And then where can people reach you and how can they get involved if they want to do so?
Yeah, they can go to freedom-angels.org. You can get on our email blast where we send out all of the events, and information and calls to action. You can follow us on Instagram under freedom.angels2. And, on Twitter, we're under Freedom Angels 2. We have a lot of things coming up this legislative session, including trainings, boots on the ground trainings. And Mamalitia is officially open for public applications today through the 18th. We're a private organization. So we're closed on referral basis only, and we are opening it up for the first 2 weeks of the month. So we're very excited to get new members. And, again, we're national. So even if you're in New York, we have communities out there.
I'm gonna put all the links down there when after I put this up. Well, it's live right now, but after I'm gonna go back and put all the links into your so people can go ahead and reach you. Everybody that's watching it on the replay, and if you're watching it live, you can go back and check it in about an hour. It should be up there. But I appreciate you coming on, Denise.
Thank
You
you.
know,
By the way, if you can't link our websites. YouTube will take you off. You have to like spell it out, DOTORG. It'll
all
take you
right.
down. So don't do that.
No, no, okay. So we'll do it like that, and then uh, if you want to if you want to get in contact with her, we'll find a way. You see my email down there. You can email me. I'll give you the link if you're trying to get in contact with her and you can't do it through the link. YouTube and this big tech, this crazy man. This is
I know.
we're gonna have to do an interview on Rumble or something like that because I really
Oh
want to
yeah, I
get
have
into some of
Rumble.
this. Yeah, I want to get into some of this other stuff that you probably really can't talk about here.
I
But
know, it
I'm
was so hard. We're like trying to
ah,
dance
man,
around words and stuff. That was difficult.
it's ridiculous. I just started this page in August, so I'm trying to build it up and get there. But I think Rumble is really the infrastructure we're gonna have to go to anyways.
Yeah.
Just to be able just to be able to speak freely. But and I appreciate everything that you're doing. I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. And
Mhm.
man, keep fighting. Keep fighting. We got your back all the time.
All right. Thank you. We'll talk
All right,
soon.
Denise. Yeah,
Bye.
definitely. All right. Man. Man, there's so much more that that I like, man, I really want to get into. But of course, we're here on this on YouTube. But I appreciate you guys for tapping in. And you know, I think the main thing taken away from all that is, like I said before, there's certain elements of society that they don't really want to wake up, you know. And I get so aggravated, um, just kind of dealing or listening to some of these people, you know, some of these activists, man. They really have no clue. You know what I mean? They sit in their offices, and they live in the suburbs and their gated communities, and they go to their universities and their institutions, and they're taught these narratives that are so far from reality. Um I spoke on it this week, and there's a video. If you guys haven't watched it, go ahead back and watch it. I put it about the Tyree Nichols thing, and you know it's a tragedy what happened to him, and I think those officers should be punished for doing so. But um, if you look, if you really think that abolishing the police is the answer, I really hope you know what's coming. I really hope you know what's on the other side, and a lot of these people don't know. They've never lived that life. They've never been out there. They've never seen what that takes and what that entails. And to to throw out these blanket generalizations, um, people are detached from reality. I don't know any other way to put it. They're detached from reality. They live their life in narratives. If we want to talk about the matrix, to me, that's the matrix. These narratives that people live by, these narratives that people take to be truth and to be facts, and they're not. They're far from it. The reality is the world is not a safe space, right? That's not the world that we live in. The world that we live in, it takes strong men in order to establish power. Um, I've been thinking a lot lately, and I'm gonna do some more on this. But you know, we always talk about freedom, and freedom and liberty is important. Obviously, those are American values. Obviously, those are, human values. But they come with responsibility. It comes with a great responsibility. I think what you want in society is you want good people with strong morals and values to be strong people, and strong people to have power to keep away the bad people. I think today there's a lot of good people, but more so than being good people, there's a lot of weak people. That's the biggest problem. The biggest problem today, and I've been thinking a lot about, our libertarian friends, and I've had a lot of libertarian views, but I think the flaw with that is that there are too many weak people to actually bring that into fruition. Evil people are out there. I think they're in the minority. I think the majority of people are good. But I also think that the majority is also weak. And being a good person without the strength to stand up for your good values is useless. It means absolutely nothing. People like Scott Wiener, who we were just talking about, they have evil agendas, but they use their power in order to enforce them. See, there's a side of life inside of man that they're not going to stop. It's going to keep going. And we talked about the slippery slope. Once you do one thing, it leads to another, and it leads to another, and eventually, we're talking about a whole moral decay. I think that's what we see. I think that's what society has become. Is we have lived and let lived for so long that the people that were living and allowed to be living however they wanted to be living have decided to now proliferate and propagate their agenda. That's where we're at. So, with the answer, in my opinion, we have to be strong and we have to create strong people. I don't see it any other way. You know, there has to be some type of boundaries. There have to be some type of structure. Yep. If you guys it's 5:06 out here. Broken Tradition about to come on at 5:30. If you have not subscribed to his channel, go ahead and do so now. He's about to come on in a minute. He gonna start cooking. He got some heat for you. Um I really, really want to thank our guest, Denise Aguilar. There's a lot, like I said, man, not everybody's buying this. You can't take this everywhere. Like I brought up the George Lopez thing only because I'm familiar with where George Lopez is from, and it's like, bro, you ain't saying that over there. We don't really play that stuff. You know what I mean? So we really can't let these weirdos. And I use that term because other terms who knows? I've actually gotten warned on Instagram for saying that, but we're gonna keep pushing, man. What's up, bro? Oh, that's a bro in there. Yeah, we're gonna keep pushing. But I want to appreciate, man, Denise Aguilar, Freedom Angels, Mamalitia. You know, these are women. My thing is where's the men? You know what I mean? Where are the men? Where are the men? I love what they're doing. I love what these women are doing. I love that they're getting together. But where are the men? And I'm a man. So I'm part of this equation too. You know what I mean? What 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 is it that we can do? What is it that we can bring together? You know what I mean? Like let's start having that conversation. I'm open to it. I'm ready for it, you know? We're all here. We're all connected in some way. It has to be more than just, share my post, like my post, comment on it, subscribe to my channel. That's all good. I mean, obviously that's the name of the game. That's what we're trying to do. But there's more to it. Like like I said this at the beginning of the show. Like, you know, yeah, this is cool. Like obviously, to get monetized and or start getting paid, all what that's going to do for somebody like me is just give me more time to be able to do this. And I'm all for it. But at the end of the day, I don't do it to get paid. I ain't got a dime from none of this. And matter of fact, this cost me more money than anything. But I do it so that at the end of the day, I can look at myself in the mirror and I can sleep well at night, and I can know that even if I fail, at least I fail fighting. Trust me, man. You don't want to live a life of regret. I'm just saying that right now. You don't want to live a life where you're talking about, man, if I only would have done this or I would have done that. I spent 15 years incarcerated, so I know exactly what it's like to sit there and say, man, if this would have happened, if that would have happened, if, and have all these different ifs. It's not a good feeling As a man, it's not a good feeling. Maybe you can convince yourself. Maybe you can convince yourself that that's okay, and don't worry about it. You can just keep taking L after L after L, but who cares? Maybe you can do that. I don't know. I can't do that. And in this day and age, here in 2023, I can't live like that. I refuse. If you want to do something to children, if you want to do something to the next generation, if you want to subjugate us, period, I'm not going to stand for it. So all that's cool. You know what I mean? All that's cool, and trying to set something up so that we can, make some money and do this more often. And I'm all with it. But the ultimate goal for me is so I don't have to wake up one day and look myself in the mirror and say, why didn't you do more? It's that simple. But I appreciate everybody for tapping in. Um, I don't know, next Wednesday, I probably will not have a live show next Wednesday. Next month, everything will be cleared up, and I'm going to have a consistent time where I do it. But I will be bringing you more content next week. Maybe a recorded show. Uh, you know, so if you haven't watched any of my latest videos, do so now. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, do so now. If you haven't shared it with somebody else and told somebody else to listen to the truth, to wake them up to the truth, do that now. Share them this podcast. This is the No Spoon Podcast. We talk about culture, politics, and common sense. I appreciate everybody for tapping in. Subscribe to the channel, share it. Also, check out Denise Aguilar and what she's doing with the Freedom Angels, Mamalitia, all that type of stuff. Like she said, I can't put the link in the description, only because they'll immediately take this video down. But you see my email down there at the bottom. You can DM me on any social platform, whatever it is that however you can need to get in contact with me, I will send you to her. So I appreciate all that. Until then, my name is Che. This is the No Spoon Podcast.